Okay, we're live.
Awesome. Record family, thanks for being with us today. We're here again, once again on a Thursday. We're here with a great interview today. We're hoping to get to know our friends David and Chelleiah a little better. This weekend is actually the Mamarapha offering for Australia Union Conference, and around Australia, the offering will be going to Mamarapha. And many of you out there may not have necessarily heard of Mamarapha. You may not have been there, or you may have some understanding, but you are not quite sure what it all means. And so David and Chelleiah are here from Mamarapha. They're here to tell us all about it. And we're very excited to have them joining us. So thanks, David and Chelleiah, for joining us today.
No worries. Thank you.
First things first, we'd love to get to know you guys a little better. So David and Chelleiah, can you take a turnabout and just tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you come from, and yeah, what you're doing at Mamarapha, what your roles are?
Ladies first.
I was going to say, I think we agree that maroon's our favourite colour.
That's right.
Queenslanders. Nice.
Queenslanders.
Yes.
It's in the blood.
I'm from North Queensland, so Cairns. I've been working at the college for about 12 months now. And I actually came in from New South Wales.
Okay.
Awesome.
Karawa. Yeah.
Beautiful.
College.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm born and bred in Brizzy and Brisbane, for those that don't know what Brizzy means. Yeah, and I've been here at the college since 2018. I was actually a student here at the college back from 2003 to 2006.
Oh.
Then went back as a pastor after graduating from here, and worked in the South Queensland Conference for the next 13 years, and was the acting director there. And then from there, I've been called and a pastor in local churches for South Queensland Conference. And yeah, I've been the principal here officially since July last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Amazing. So when Jared mentioned that we were interviewing you both today, I was very excited. But I kept saying Mamarapha College. So obviously Mamarapha is not a familiar place to me. But just to start with, where is it actually based? Is it somewhere super remote, or is it sort of accessible?
We're actually in Perth.
Okay.
Up in the hills. If some of the folks might be familiar with the name Carmel College, which is in Carmel. We're about 15 minutes away from Carmel College. So we're in the bush. Carragullen's just a little town along the ridge from Perth, and the college has been here. We've been here as Mamarapha since 2002, I believe. But it's an old primary school. It was a Carragullen primary school. So it's just an old two classrooms with an administration block. We're nestled away and when people see the offering video, they'll see that we're in the scrub here. Just beautiful, quiet surroundings. We don't hear many cars go by. We're not on a main road. We're off, if you want to call it the main road, because that doesn't get much traffic either. But we're off that road, so it's very quiet here. The noisiest thing is the cockatoos in the morning and the afternoon.
Wow, sounds like a beautiful learning environment. It really does.
It is. It's very calming. When people come here, often their first impression is, wow, you can just feel the peace in this place. You can just feel the calmness here. It's just so serene here. It's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the privilege to visit Mamarapha just a few years back for my first sort of trip. It wasn't during semester, so I didn't get to meet a lot of the students there. But certainly my impression was, one, I was surprised sort of how close it was to Perth, I guess. It's not out, but at the same time, as you say, there's a real peace about the place. It just Yeah, it felt like a beautiful place to come and learn, come and study. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of the courses you offer and what sort of people are studying at Mamarapha? What's the core mission for Mamarapha? Because, you know, the Adventist Church has a bunch of schools and a bunch of colleges and a bunch of different things, but Mamarapha is really a unique sort of special place, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll do the course bit, and then I'll throw to Chelleiah, and she can tell about her mob. Okay. So we have two main study streams, which is ministry and health. And with ministry, we also have, which is like lay ministry type training, but we also do pastoral ministry as well. So we have accredited courses for everything that we do. We've we've got over 100 modules that we can teach throughout the course of a diploma or an advanced diploma. And so we've got nationally accredited courses and qualifications from Cert 2 all the way through to advanced diploma. So yeah, that's our course. So we've got the ministry, and then we've got the health course as well. Yeah, and we're looking, we'll talk a bit more about that in expansion plans, I guess, a little bit more in the interview. And I can tell you about our beautiful students.
So especially in regards to, we actually cater for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia. Over the past 23, almost 24 years, we've actually, we've had students come in from 218 specific locations across Australia.
Wow.
So we cover a very, broad area. We've had one application even from Tasmania.
That's fantastic. So you said 200 and what was it, 18?
218 locations across Australia.
So how many students do you have in total?
At the moment for this year, we have 104 students.
Okay, yeah.
But we've had, many more students in the past 23 and a bit years.
Of course, yeah.
I think it's something like over 1,400 or something like that, students that have come through. So whilst we've got just over 200 locations, we've got communities, so there's multiple people coming from some of those communities. Yeah,
the same locations.
Yeah,
and I imagine, what do you see, guys, as the impact of that? Because I guess that if everyone's coming to this Mamarapha and having, I don't know if you talk about the Mamarapha experience, but you know, we hear about the Avondale experience a lot. And if people are coming, what is the Mamarapha experience, and what are they bringing back to those diverse locations across the country? What is it that they take away from Mamarapha?
Good question, and I guess I can answer that because I was a student here.
Yeah.
So because it's a small campus, and typically when students are coming in for a study block, there's probably most times a maximum of 35 students per study block. So we run in total 11 study blocks throughout the year. So we've got year 1 cohort, then a year 2 to 4 cohort as well. So the experience is when you come in, you're automatically, like you've just explained, the environment here and how peaceful and that is. When students come here, they're coming from places where, you know, communities can be dysfunctional, families, immediate or connected families can, you know, it's things aren't running smooth. And so coming here is like a little sanctuary for them.
Wow.
All they have to do while they're here is do some book work, but it's all around God. Everything we do here is Christ-focused, Christ-centered. And so this group of 30 people actually journey together for 2 weeks at a time. Then they go back home to community, and then they come back again, and they get topped up again when they come back here. And so these relationships form while you're here with other students and other staff. So there's all sorts of different cool things that are going on here besides getting to know God. They're getting to know other people from other mobs, other little cultural nuances from their places. Some people actually find out they're actually related to each other when they come here.
Wow.
You know, from different parts of the country. And so there's all these little things that are happening, and it's just a really cool, like, family type environment and family type experience. And so since March, since COVID started, the impact that that's had is that we're just every day we're getting phone calls or emails. When we starting again? When we starting again? Because they just miss what happens here when they're at Mamarapha.
Wow.
That's a part of it. And that experience, then they take them back home into their own communities. And some of them don't even, some students don't realise how much they have changed just in 2 weeks sometimes. When they go back home, other people in their community, especially the remote communities and the smaller ones where everybody knows everybody and you're seeing everybody all the time, other community people are coming to them saying, where you been? You changed. You're different. Where you been? And so that's why we keep getting incredible numbers of applications every year that we cater for, because of the transformation that happens here throughout the year. And then they go back home and people actually see it. It's like Moses coming down the hill, you know, glowing. People are going home glowing from their experience here.
It sounds amazing.
You said it all.
To me, and not to trivialize it at all, but it almost sounds like, because for me growing up, one of my favorite things in the whole world was summer camp. You know, you're with a bunch of like-minded people for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, you're uplifted spiritually, and then you just can't wait for the next one. It sounds almost like that to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just this little sanctuary where people are getting to know God, and they're understanding that they can change, and they're getting the tools and the understanding of how to make change, not just for themselves, but for their family and in community. So that's just an amazing, amazing impact that our students are having back home in their communities.
And would you say that there's more than just education then, that it's actually discipleship is really key to the process? Yeah,
and it's very holistic, Jared, the way that it all happens, and it's very organic. I mean, sure, we're sitting in class and learning ABC type thing, you know, we're learning that, but even that's done as much as we can in a culturally competent way, as much as we can. So, yeah, it is. It's...
Mary Ellen was saying, you know, in Mamarapha, Maranatha, we get confused about the words, but Mamarapha actually has a very special meaning. Can you tell us a little bit about the meaning of the name? And also, I guess, do you see that playing out? Is that part of the core mission, or is it just a clever name that we've labeled the college? Hey, this is Mamarapha. But what does the meaning of the name? How does that interact with the students' experience and the impact that the college makes on the church and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in Australia? What sort of impact does that name have?
So just for a little bit of history, when the college first started, it was called Atsim Bible College.
Yep.
So Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Ministries Bible College. And then somewhere down the track, after a few years, we thought, no, we need a better name than just Atsim Bible College. And so there was a lot of thought and a lot of discussion, and I was around when that name change came. So it just seemed like it was taken forever, but it was taken forever because we just wanted to get the right name. And so Mama is Mardu language from central Western Australia, desert people, and that means God. So it is God. And then Rapha is a Hebrew word, which means God heals completely. So we've got this whole concept of Aboriginal word and Bible word, Hebrew word, and bringing them together. And that's what this place is all about. God heals completely. It's this healing that takes place in people's lives. We've got people that are coming here that are broken, that have come here with different addictions, whether they might be fresh or past addictions that they just haven't been freed from. And it's just a wonderful, because it's such a close-knit little thing, you can actually monitor individual students very, very closely, you can just actually physically see changes taking place in people. And then you hear the stories from back home as well. And they're their own personal testimonies as well, while they're here and back in community. So
I'll just add a little bit onto that. One of the uniqueness of the Aboriginal culture, or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, is that we, when we acknowledge people, especially by aunt or uncle, oh, sorry, I'll say that again. When we acknowledge people, it's by aunt and uncle. It's not usually by first name basis. Mm-hmm. So it usually brings on the family kind of notation as well.
Right.
Yeah, if I'm meeting someone who's older than me, she's my auntie or she's my uncle by respect. Mm-hmm. If I'm meeting someone around the same age, then it's my brother, it's my sister. If I'm meeting someone younger than me, then usually they may acknowledge me as an auntie.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's like, you know, just in the way that you speak to each other, there's this family sort of a, not resemblance, but you know what I mean? It's like that essence of family. And with what you've been saying, I think it's very clear that Mamarapha is an oasis. It's like this place to get away and make connections and just, you know, overcome addictions and all of what you were saying. It sounds incredible. One of the questions I do have, and not to dwell on this too much because everyone's talking about it, but coronavirus, obviously there's been restrictions in place and things like this. And maybe you can speak to this as well, Chelleiah, being in the student space, but how has that affected the way you've been able to gather together?
Depends on what side of the bed you wake up on.
Okay.
I think it's frustrating for anyone because of the restrictions in place. Because we fall in the state of Western Australia, our borders are, of course, still closed to everyone. Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, with the college being here, we haven't been able to have blocks, even for local students. Okay. So we've started up Zoom meetings, just trying to, you know, continue engaging with our students and just keeping that relationship going. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, look, the stories that we're still hearing from around the areas with our students are still positive. You know, students are still keeping in contact with one another. They're still, you know, running little programs and stuff in their communities. They're still on fire. Like David said, they're busting to get back here to continue, you know, the studies that they've started. Mm-hmm. So it's still positive.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just for our mob. It's just being together means so much. It's, you know, Zoom helps, but it can never replace the face-to-face. And one of the, talking about the impact that Corona has had is that because we've relied totally in the past on face-to-face, we've had no infrastructure in place for online platforms. Mm-hmm. So and where our students are coming from, some of their communities are that remote that their connection, the internet connection that they have, very, very limited. So the whole concept for us of going online is not just, oh, okay, like the schools have gone, okay, well, here it is, we'll just modify this, okay, we're going online. Didn't work like that for us. And it hasn't. We're very, very challenged about the whole thing of going online. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned is, and I think this is very unique, sort of the study, do you call them study blocks? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah. So you said there's 11 of them throughout the year. So tell me, that's quite different to most, you know, educational institutions around. What's the reasoning behind that approach?
Simply because students are coming from all over the country. Mm-hmm. There's a number of reasons. It's all adult education. For some of the students, it's a academic struggle being here. So to just have this big, long time away from family, it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. Now, on top of that, we've got other, from particularly our remote students. There's cultural expectations as well that they've got to work with as well. So funerals, for example, they may have to miss a study block because there's funerals on. And so there's always these little tensions and challenges. So to try and do long semester studies, it just doesn't work for us. We lose too many students doing it that way. So shorter study blocks, and then so each student gets, the 11th one is actually a combined where we bring all of the students in together from both cohorts. So it's just a massive get together for that 11th study block. And we wrap up the year, we do a graduation and then a banquet dinner all in that final study block. So afterwards, staff feel like sleeping for the rest of the year. We're just worn out after that, because a lot goes into that last study block. It's just full on. Wow. But at the end of the day, when you're seeing students, the smiles on their faces when they're receiving certificates, for some, the first certificate they've ever received. Wow. And to see the smile and how much it means to them to get that certificate in their hand, it's quite significant. I'll just share this with you, the impact that college has. We're getting this. We've actually had a request from a lot of students, and it's come to us through Pastor Don Felberg. Amongst our people, there's a lot of funerals, and the families of Mamarapha students are asking us to actually provide something as a display, like whether it's something to put over the coffin, whether it's a graduation photo of them to put on the coffin amongst everything else. Because coming here and doing the studies and going back to community is a significant achievement for a lot of people. Families recognise that, and it's like a badge of honour. Wow. Many students in those remote areas, I've been to Mamarapha. They say it with pride. I've been to Mamarapha.
Wow.
That's the type of impact that college has on people and then their families. So like some people want to put the footy colours, whatever. These families are asking for the Mamarapha colours to be there at funerals. Just gives you a bit of an idea. I don't know if that happens with too many other educational institutions around the country.
I don't know if I'd be keen to have Avondale sort of things draped. No offense to Avondale, but over my coffin, it's not where my head's out with planning my funeral. But that sounds. That just goes to show the life-changing impact, I suppose, doesn't it? David, you've sort of talked a little bit about your long association with Mamarapha. Chelleiah, you've been a little less, so you're a bit more recent into the Mamarapha family. What's something that surprised you or that you sort of appreciate most about your now being connected, working there and seeing, what Mamarapha is? What's something that you that was a fresh experience or a new thing that sort of surprised you that you maybe didn't expect before you arrived?
I'm actually not really fresh into the Mamarapha family.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
My mother was actually a past student of Mamarapha.
In my class.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
So cool.
So it's generational now.
It is. It is.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen the firsthand what Mamarapha has done with my mum and what she was going through as a student, and especially juggling a family and all that type of stuff at the time. She actually started it on the residential blocks. So I was still in high school. Okay. So mum would fly in and fly out. So we'd be without a mum for almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
Cook, or my dad would have to cook, which got a bit challenging at times. But no, it was something that we felt was important for her, because we could see the results that she was coming home with.
Yeah.
And then she ended up moving over to Perth to complete the pastoral ministry diploma. So.
Wow. We
what about me? And so I've been in and out. I've had a lot of family that's come through this place, and David and I have kind of also worked with each other, sort of thing, back in Brisbane through the Dream Track project. So
yeah, and Chelleiah and I knew each other when I was here as a student, because she came over here for a spell as well. So yeah, it's interesting how God works and just brings people back together and connects people. Yeah,
it really is like a family.
yeah.
Australia doesn't seem so big anymore.
Yeah.
We have a couple of comments here. We've been getting them as we've been live on Facebook. William Strickland's cracking jokes at you, Pastor Dave. He says, it's a good Pastor Dave.
Willie.
And he also says maroon is a good color, or all black is also a good color, in case you're wondering.
I can't agree with that.
Brendan Lee Davis says his mate Dion has been going to Mamarapha, and this Sabbath they're putting his education into practice at Wujal, and he's going to be running a Sabbath program there, which is encouraging.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Dion's a great student.
Okay.
Yeah, Dion is he's a really committed, focused student. He's got a ton of potential. And who, like when he came here, had some challenges in life, but he got a hold of God, and God got a hold of him while they're in. He's done some wrestling with God, and yeah, where Dion is at now, it's just incredible. Praise God. Yeah.
Well, Brendan, if you're watching, get Dion to watch or give him the good feedback.
Yeah.
William
Dion can pay me later on for that little comment.
A bit of a plug.
Yeah.
William says, a serious question though, how can we profile and support the college from the other side of the country? I think that's one worth asking you guys.
Yeah. One of the best ways is just to get in touch with local ATSIM directors in the conference, because they'll be able to connect you with some of the students if people are interested in finding out more about the college. It sometimes is a little bit tricky working on the other side of the country and knowing how to support the college from the other side of the country. Of course, there's prayer, but people want to do more than pray. It's working with the ATSIM directors, because indirectly that's working with us. We're ATSIM and Mamarapha are together. We're not two separate things. We're like this. What Mamarapha does feeds the bigger vision of ATSIM. Yeah.
A really, really important point. And I guess the other thing to remind people, there is a record offering, a Mamarapha offering this week, and you're hoping it's a record offering.
We are.
And there's a story in record as well that they can read and on our website that's going to come up this Sabbath, and so they can go through the e-giving app, even if they're not able to be at church. If you're in Victoria or somewhere you can't make it to church this Sabbath, there's ways to still support Mamarapha. And as you mentioned, David, in that interview that we did for that story, there's ways you can support Mamarapha that aren't just financial, not just the offering sort of ways. There's other ways you can volunteer or offer your expertise in different areas. So they can get in contact with you, I'm sure, at Mamarapha.
Sure, yep. Anytime.
Very good.
And if Willie asked that question about how support, was it Willie that asked that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, put your hands in your pockets, brother. That's my advice to you, Willie Strickland.
He says, too funny, a record offering will promote the offering in our churches. So
yeah, good on you, mate. Thank you.
Beautiful. Here's a question for both of you as well. What impact does Mamarapha have on the church? You've talked a little bit about the impact on students and communities that the students go back into, some of the even remote Aboriginal communities in different spread out areas of Australia. But what about the church, the Adventist church? What's the benefit to the church or to the ATSIM ministry to have something like Mamarapha College?
You go first.
We're training members of the field. Yeah, like I said, we've touched, 218 locations. We've got students spread all over Australia. We're training pastors, we're training Bible workers, we're training chaplains. We're training local church elders, even Bible study leaders, children's ministry leaders. Yeah, we have a huge impact.
And I guess to that is that we could rattle off a long list of communities that our viewers and most of our church members across the country, even in the states where those communities are, people haven't heard of those communities.
Wow.
So we've got coming from those places that 9 out of 10 Adventists have never even heard of or would even know where they're at.
Right.
That's the impact. We've got this. When I was saying before that Mamarapha and ATSIM are like this, I guess most people won't know this either, is that ATSIM is actually the fastest growing ministry within the Adventist Church in Australia.
Wow, that's amazing.
When you weigh it up, per ratio, we're baptising in that, when you weigh it up that way, we're baptising more Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people than we are whitefellas.
Yeah.
It's a 25% growth rate since the last consensus. So, that tells you that doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes in remote and rural areas, and even in the cities. We've got people that are working all over the place, and in fact, the amount of workers that we have can't keep up with the growth. And we've had that challenge for a number of years now. We can't keep up with the growth. We've started something and it's just got out of control. Praise God. But so that's a way that people can help. That when I come back to the question from before, how can people help? Get in touch with your local ATSIM directors and see how you can help them, because that's helping Mamarapha. Yes. That makes sense. Yep. Get beside students, and if you can help with some tutoring or some mentoring, the list goes on. But that's the impact. I get fired up about it because, as you Mamarapha's in the blood as well. It's just amazing potential, and we're pulling back on the reins. When it comes to enrolments here at the college, we have to say no. We have to say no to 50 plus people every year.
Wow.
That are wanting to come here to study, to learn about God, to be trained.
Is the reason for that like a lack of funding or a lack of people available to teach, or is it just the facilities are too small, or all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't have the classroom capacity to take them all. We don't have the budget for the extra teacher. That would be very, very helpful. There's 5 staff here. 3 are full-time, 2 are part-time. And we're running an educational institution. Fair enough, it's not the size of Avondale, but we've got to still tick all those same compliance boxes and, all the other boxes that we've got to tick all the same things as well.
Yeah.
On a skeleton crew, and on a budget that
Pastor George Munoz says here in the comments, I reckon William Strickland would make a good teacher at Mamarapha. So you're after more teachers. People cracking jokes. Yeah.
Speaking of that, David, Pastor David, what sort of, you mentioned earlier, and I want to come back to, you sort of started mentioning that there probably some expansion plans or opportunities or thoughts. Can you just fill us in what you're looking at doing for Mamarapha? What are sort of some of the upcoming plans in the next few years that you'd like to see?
We have we've been blessed through an architect company in Sydney that took Mamarapha on as a project to do some pro bono work to begin preparing the drawings for expansion plans here.
Wow.
That will enable us to have an extra 100 students here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So the plans are there, and some of the council, approvals have begun. But once again, it's always that. So that's a plan. Somewhere down the track, we would love to have our own place for accommodation. That would be just another huge dream, and if that came into fruition, it would make such a difference.
So what happens with the accommodation now then? What these students that come in for the 2-week blocks, how are they accommodated?
We actually tap into accommodations in the area, and we it's assisted by away from base funding, which is ab study funding. And right. So, and then we organise the bus back and forth. We do the airport pickups, and then
yeah. So I guess some of the other expansion plans, not just in the structural thing, is in course development as well. Yeah. As wretched as COVID has been, it's given us enough time to be able to step back and analyse and evaluate what we have been doing, what's happening now, what's it going to look like in the future as much as we can. What do our people need right now, and what will they need in the next 5-10 years? So we're looking at introducing new courses, particularly a mental health course here, and a few other courses that we're looking at as well that will be relevant for students in the community, and it will also hopefully lead to increased opportunies for employment. So there's some of the things that we're working on. None of those things happen overnight, especially when you're wanting to introduce new courses. There's a lot of hurdles you've got to jump over and hoops you've got to jump through to pull all that stuff off. And you need some of that. So, yeah. And look, there are just so many opportunities for us to just branch off in different directions. Sometimes you get so excited, but there's like, well, which way do we go, Yeah, but look, our dream is that we become, when people think about ministry, like if Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people think about ministry or health, Mamarapha comes to their mind, Adventist or not. And that's the other thing about this college, is that we're actually getting a good number of students that are not Adventist people from the communities. That's how they are when they're here, but we have lots of baptisms through the college as well.
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, we're sort of acting like a church as well here in that nurturing and the baptism process as well. So, yeah, it's cool. There's so many good things that happen here.
Very inspiring, very, very inspiring and encouraging to hear. I think often it's the opposite story with, as you say, the white fellas, it's like far less baptisms, far less all of that stuff. One question I do have in regards to, you say that, a lot of people aren't Adventists that come to the college. Now, I know that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities have, or a lot of them have their own form of spirituality, and I'm not well informed about that, but does that often intersect or come up against the Adventist doctrine? And sort of how do you approach that when you're teaching what I assume is probably a fairly practical approach to ministry, but in the theoretical aspect, what does that look like?
Yeah, good question. And I guess it depends on the individual. So there's not just one thing that we do. It's amazing. I mean, we're always praying here. And it's amazing what God does behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So, people are coming with different, spiritual experiences. And they may be coming from another denomination that does things this way or that way. And so there's no judgment here upon that. We just simply go about teaching our distinctive Adventist message with as much grace and acceptance as we can. Okay. And God just does his thing. The Spirit just does his thing. And you see the changes take place. And you see the light bulbs go on when you're teaching on some of those sensitive subjects. The light bulbs go on for people and they go, you just see the aha moments, and then you hear about that back in community. And for some of our students, depending on a number of different factors, it's a real struggle for them. It's a real struggle to let go some of those spiritual teachings that don't line up with the Bible. Yeah. But in time, God does his thing. Mm-hmm. We're just here to work with God, not in place of God. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really gracious and there's a lot of grace in that space. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why people love coming back so much, it's just. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
The truth sets them free.
Oh, wow. That's such a real life application of that verse.
Yeah. And in many different areas, and that's why the name Mamarapha healing that displays here. That the truth just sets people free, and that's all we're focused on is people getting a good, clear understanding of.
Yeah, absolutely.
As it is in the gospel.
Yeah, we like here at Record Live, we like to be practical and challenge the people that are watching, challenge our watchers, our viewers. And I think for me, at least, to take away from this conversation that we've had today, something Chelleiah was saying about the students going back, being equipped, being trained and equipped, and then they're able to share that. They're doing all these roles in their communities and in their churches. That's really feeding the gospel sort of mission, the gospel spread. And I think for me, it's like, that's what church is about. That's what the church is. It's about discipling people to go and be active in their communities, to live it out. And what we're seeing, I think, from Mamarapha, at least from what I've heard today and some of the other stories I've heard about the people there, it's like, it's so life applicable. It's so practical. It's not just theory. It's not just belief, but they come there, their lives are changed. Then they go back and share that, and other people want to change their lives too. Like, it spreads, and it becomes the fact that they're equipped to minister in health and in ministry in their communities. We could all, myself included, learn something from that, sort of seeing that passion, I guess, of what life-changing belief does to the rest of your life. When I'm in my community and my family and my sphere of influence, am I changing people's lives by my my presence, my love of the gospel, my the things that I've learned in my life that I can share with them? Like, that to me is a real take home sort of out of our conversation, just that's challenging me. Am I living in a practical way? Am I allowing Jesus to change me enough that it impacts the people around me?
And we've all got to be asking that question, Jared, don't we? Yeah, that's what the Christian journey is all about, isn't it? Is my life making a difference? Do people see and hear Jesus in me? And I guess that's the message that we try to get across here. not just in theory, but in practice. So, yeah, I mean, like all colleges, we don't always get it right. We're not perfect. But yeah, we kick some good goals here. Yeah, it's good.
Look, guys, we're running low on time. We thank you for your time joining us today. We've covered a lot of ground. Probably there's a lot more stories that we could tell and things we could say. But is there anything you want to leave us with just to remind us? Obviously, the offering this Sabbath, if people missed that earlier on and they're just tuning in, yes, there is a Mamarapha offering, and that's going to go towards some of the projects and some of the expansion and some of the day-to-day needs, I imagine, of the college, the expenses that are there already. But is there anything you'd like to sort of leave us with that we haven't yet covered, or that you'd like to add to some of the things, or remind us of as we sort of finish up today's interview?
Yeah, Jared, I guess one of the things that our church needs to understand, the average church member, they actually own this college. Mamarapha belongs to the Seventh-day Adventist Church of the Union.
Mm-hmm.
And so directly or indirectly, people have a connection with this college. It's just a shame that people don't know about us and great work that's happening. I just, with the whole thing that's just, and I know we're running out of time, but with, what's just happened around the whole BLM thing.
Yep.
It's time for our church to walk across the room, to look for that one lost sheep type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
It's time for our mainstream church to do that. And by doing that, it's just going to if people want to help Mamarapha, do that. Do that in your own neighbourhood. Do that in your own community. Connect with Aboriginal people. Start doing that, because the impact of that will flow through to this place, and then it will flow back out into community, and the best is yet to come for this college. When our whole church embraces Mamarapha College, when our whole church embraces ATSIM, man, look out. We will change this country. And I think to be a part of something at a national level, where me as an individual, I can be a part of changing the direction of this country in the area. What an exciting thing. And God calls us to that. God calls us to be people of justice, people of mercy, people of love. And so that's what I would like to share with the church. If only our church members could get their head around that there's such a wonderful opportunity in our hands as Christians, as Adventists, to support this college, to support the work of ATSIM, man, we could change the country.
Wow. It's a real sense of ownership there. And I think ownership is the first step to action.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
For too long, the Indigenous work has been, well, that's what they do. That's what they look after.
Yeah.
We need to bring those walls down, and we need to start working together in every conference, in every city, in every country town. We need to bring the walls down. We need to be the ones that do it. As a Seventh-day Adventist, bring the walls down, walk across the street, walk across the room. G'day, brother. How you doing?
Absolutely. Chelleiah, do you have anything you'd like to share to close up?
I think David said it all.
Sorry.
No, we're going away feeling very empowered and inspired. So thank you both for everything you shared. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I guess challenged, Marielle. And I'd like to say to what Pastor David just said, that I think a really important thought to sort of leave us. We unfortunately don't have a lot of time. We've unpacked the racism issue on a number of these programs in the last couple of months, and we don't have time to go right into that today. But I really appreciate you sort of mentioning that and challenging us. I think in this division, we do the Record magazine at a division level, and we have a heritage, I think, and a strong sort of history of looking overseas to mission and to spend our energies and our monies in all these things around the world, and that's a good heritage for this division to have. But as you suggest, this college is right here in Australia, has immense needs, but also has immense potential and an immense impact to change the church, the face of the church and the face of the nation. And that's challenging when it's something that we, not just Mamarapha, but the ATSIM work, and it's something that we often put in the corner or forget about, or and I don't think always intentionally, but sometimes intentionally we ignore that part of our church's work here. And I think it's time, as you say, for all of us to remember that and to look for ways to, as you say, walk across the street, shake the hand, and be welcoming and opening, and not just that in a sense, but to see that the work at Mamarapha is super important. But they're also, like, to take Chelleiah's example, family, brothers and sisters. We're all in this together, in this sort of great controversy, this final sort of push of the world's history. So we're all family in this, and we all need to remember our brothers and sisters at Mamarapha and the impact that they can have on this country.
Jared, I'll just chuck something in here. You know, as a church, we're quick to lift up the Avondales. We're proud of Avondale. We're proud of our other institutions. We don't experience that towards Mamarapha. It's not held in the same esteem. But let me tell you something, and everybody else who's listening, there is no other Indigenous college like Mamarapha in this country. There is no other college that offers what we offer, the qualifications that we offer, and they're calling us now, asking for help.
State or denominational, you're talking like the government doesn't have anything like this, other denominations don't have
there's nothing like Mamarapha in this country, yet our people are not proud of what we have.
We're leading the way, and we don't even know
but we're not lifted up there. We're not lifted up by the church. So that has to change. You know, that's what I'm saying. Take ownership, be proud of us, talk about us where you can, lift us up.
Definitely
a challenge.
Ever since I've heard of the work of Mamarapha and ATSIM, I've been proud of that work.
Praise God.
I remember the census that you talked about, and seeing that we had ATSIM people associating as Seventh-day Adventists that we didn't even know we had on the books, sort of thing. That's how the impact of Mamarapha. And when I heard some of those stories from, you know, Pastor David Garrard and Don Felberg and others who work in some of those remote communities, it makes me proud to be a Seventh-day Adventist, that our church is able to do that. But I think we don't have enough sort of spotlight on some of those works in the country.
And so it needs to be more than just every 2 years we do an offering for Mamarapha. It's not enough. If we want to get serious about it, pray to God, how can you help? How can I help Mamarapha, God? Pray to God, let him show you the way. It's not enough to sit here and tell people what they've got to do. But if God is leading, hey, amen, look out.
Well, our prayer is certainly that you guys get a record offering this weekend, Sabbath. And also that, like, a lot of people get to watch this record live, because there's so many gold nuggets that you've shared with us, so many interesting points and challenging points as well. So thank you so much again for joining us, for your thoughts.
Pleasure.
And all the best with the future of Mamarapha. I know it's in fantastic hands with the both of you, but may God just bless the future of your college.
And if you're watching this, like I saw David Garrard did jump on, and our ATSIM people, and you want to spread the work of Mamarapha, share this video, just share this interview so that more people on your Facebook and your spheres of influence can hear about the good work that Mamarapha is doing.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you again next week for another Record Live.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.